What up everybody, Bosco Too Fast here. Today I'm going to run down the differences between the Asetek, Invicta, and the Forte Pro steering wheels, give you some insights on what the features are and what I like and what I don't like about the wheel, so you can make an informed decision on which one's right for you. Okay, so here's a brief feature rundown. Both of these wheels feature a 4.3-inch LCD screen running at 60 Hz, and they're both touchscreens. The front face includes 144 individual input options featuring 12 push buttons, 6 thumb encoders, 3 rotary encoders, 2 kinky switches, and 2 rocket switches. On the back side of the wheel, it features 2 clutch paddles, 2 shifter paddles, and 2 additional paddles up top. And on the Invicta, you get 2 extra push buttons. And as far as customization is concerned, both of these wheels feature removable grips that you can swap out for a variety of different styles, and all the rotary encoders can also be switched out for different colors, whatever floats your boat. First, I'm going to start out with the weight difference. The Invicta weighs 4.354 pounds or 69.666 ounces, while the Forte Formula Pro weighs in at 3.629 pounds or 56.061 ounces. And because I'm going to reference the Forte GT button box later, I'm also going to give you the weight for that. It weighs 4.425 pounds or 70.795 ounces with the rim. And now we're going to get into stem lengths. The stem on the Invicta is 3 1/8 inches long. On the Forte Formula Pro, it's 2 3/8 inches long. And on the Forte GT button box, it's 2 1/8 inches long. And now we're going to get into the differences between these two wheels, starting with the materials. Okay, the Forte Pro is constructed from full carbon fiber reinforced composite, featuring a laser-etched forged carbon finish. And the Invicta is constructed from the same carbon fiber reinforced composite with the addition of machined aluminum back cover and a 4mm thick carbon fiber front plate. The stems are also different, with the Invicta wheel featuring a machined aluminum QD and stem, while the Forte Formula Pro wheel features a stem made out of the same composite material as the body. Both wheels feature the same removable paddle shifters and clutches that come in polymer or carbon, depending on which one you order. Although the mechanical parts for these shifters are both identical, just the actual shifter levers are carbon versus polymer. The carbon versions feature slots machined into the ends of the paddles for grip, where the polymer paddles have slightly recessed cups to provide better purchase. As far as performance of the paddles, the carbon paddles sound a little bit louder, but I really don't notice any difference in the way they actually perform, having raced both extensively. Now we're going to cover the few differences in the features between these two wheels. The only non-material difference between the Invicta and the Forte Pro wheel is going to be the addition of the 2 extra buttons on the back of the Invicta. Since switching over to the Invicta from the Forte, I have bound these 2 buttons, the left being for cursor hiding and the right for the ignition switch to start the engine. The next feature difference is going to be the length of stems. The stem on the Invicta is about 3/4 of an inch longer, long enough that before I got the seat sliders and upgraded the wheel deck brackets, I was unable to run it. And as it just so happens, the Forte Formula Pro wheel being a little bit shorter allowed me to run that from day one, and I ran that for a couple of months. Aesthetically speaking, I find both the wheels extremely striking. I swapped out some of the red rotaries on the Invicta for black, and I enjoyed the contrast of the red and black dials. And the previous owner of the Forte Pro had already swapped out the orange kinky switches, and honestly, I really liked the mix of the black and the gray buttons and dials. At first, I almost liked the stealth look on the Forte Pro more than the Invicta with the red dials, but I will admit that the red has grown on me, and if I had to choose one, I would probably keep the Invicta. As far as the carbon weave front plate, if I was ordering new, I probably would have gone with the forged carbon version, but the weave carbon has definitely grown on me and it does look very premium. But functionally, both wheels feel exactly the same. I did end up turning up the force feedback around the time I swapped to the Invicta, but it wasn't necessarily because the wheel was any heavier. This was just when I really started chasing pace in every way. I changed my driving style, I experimented with brake calibrations, and I even noticed that the force feedback on my wheelbase was set for default for iRacing. So at this time I changed it to the LMU default, and I also started playing Assetto Corsa Evo and Assetto Corsa Rally. Okay, now I'm going to get to build quality. Both these wheels feel incredibly high quality, as do all the Asetek products that I've encountered. Keep in mind that I've only had hands-on Asetek gear and I have zero hands-on experience with any other sim sports brands. But I have owned plenty of electronics and expensive toys, so I do have some knowledge on how to spot quality products. And just for reference, I own the entire Asetek Invicta setup, including the Thorpe 2 split pedal set and the V2 Forte GT button box, along with the Forte Pro wheel. And now I just want to touch upon warranty and RMA. One caveat to be aware of when purchasing Asetek secondhand is they require the original order number to provide warranty, which is obviously something I didn't have because I purchased my gear secondhand. And when it came to the LMP grips, they wouldn't fit the Invicta wheel. I ended up bending them slightly in the direction of the mounting tabs needed to go, and I was told by Asetek not to do this or it might void my warranty. but there wasn't even a warranty anyway because I got them secondhand. And this wasn't the issue with the Invicta wheel itself, it was more an issue with the tolerances on the grips. There was just no way the grips were going to slide onto the Invicta button box without me scratching the back of the wheel. And as for the warranty, I contacted the seller I purchased them from and he ghosted me instantly, so I don't have warranty anyway according to Asetek. Okay, now I'm going to go over the things I like and I don't like about the Asetek wheels. I guess the pros and the cons, as you may say. Okay, the first is going to be the USB pass-through and the QD. It's so clean and it's so fast to swap to another wheel. This is a big selling feature for me. Aesthetically, I really love the new Asetek wheels, although I'll admit that the first wheels weren't exactly necessarily the most visually pleasing to me, but I love the new wheels, the Forte and the Invicta. The next thing I like is going to be ergonomics, especially when it comes to the grips being replaceable. I have very large hands and I tend to gravitate towards thinner grips, and many brands seem to have these really chunky grips or they're curved. Nor were any other companies offering replaceable and swappable grips, and that was a huge deciding factor for my decision. And just to touch upon the grips that I've tried from Asetek, I really enjoyed the formula grips, the regular ones, but I do prefer the shape and the non-rubberized texture of the LMP grips. I've definitely heard some people say that they're slippery. I find them a little bit squishy, to be honest with you, and somewhat hollow, whereas the regular grips are solid. It's totally subjective. Whatever you're going to like is what you're going to like. The next feature that I really love is going to be the car spotting feature that's on all Asetek wheels. The way the LEDs light up and blink blue as another car is alongside you, it really adds some extra measure of confidence when you're battling wheel to wheel. Another feature I find really great is the screen overlays, whether it's traction control or brake bias overlay, which I often find I'm hitting accidentally when I'm kind of panicking going into a turn. You know that you just hit a brake bias change and you can correct it if you need to. Or it's a flag overlay. The overlay makes it nearly impossible to miss a blue or yellow flag, even the pit limiter being on overlays across the entire screen. In addition to the flag lights and the rev lights also displaying that color, it really adds to the experience. The next thing I like is the screens themselves and the included dashes. I prefer the included dashes by Asetek over a lot of the competitors. As a new sim racer, the included dash setups really made it easy for me to just jump into the race and start competing. The next thing I like is the dials and rotaries. The aluminum knobs and the tactile feel of the encoders and the rotary dials feel top notch. I feel like I'm really driving an exotic car and I'm not just playing in a toy. The next thing I like is the customizable setup. I know that some people might not like using stickers, and I know some companies have printed buttons, for example GSI, but I stress just figuring out how I'm going to order this wheel, and not being able to change the buttons and rearrange my layout was kind of stressful. The last thing that I'm going to mention liking about the Asetek wheels is going to be the light show that they put on when you're not using them. You can pick between all these different settings. It's just really cool. It just looks absolutely fantastic. Really makes the room come alive. Okay, and now for the things that I don't like about the Asetek wheels. So the major thing that bugged me about the Asetek brand of wheels is the different stem lengths. The fact that all three of my wheels have different length stems makes swapping between them a little bit harder than it could be. I can't just swap between the Forte Pro and the Invicta because I need to move the seat and the pedals, or I need to move the wheel deck. Could be a little bit better if they're all just the same length. Swapping to the round Forte GT wheel, I can get away with just moving the seat slightly forward, but my legs are a little bit more bent. But if I was planning to play Asetek Corsa Rally for a really long period of time, I would have to adjust some of the things on my rig, although I tend to love racing the GT style cars and I prefer Le Mans Ultimate anyway, so it doesn't really matter most of the time. The other thing on the Asetek wheels that I don't necessarily love is the toggle switches at the top of the wheel. Personally, they've never bugged me on the Formula style wheels, but on the GT wheel, I sometimes crash in Asetek Corsa Rally and I have them snag on my gloves as the wheel is spinning around. This is probably easily fixed by swapping the Comfort Plus rim out for the suede dished version, and doing this would also fix the issue between swapping from the Invicta wheel to the Forte GT wheel. Who knows why the stems are different lengths? I'm assuming that Asetek didn't expect people to be swapping between the Forte and the Invicta. They probably just thought people would choose one. And I'm also well aware that the flex in the polymer version might be more than the aluminum one. The polymer stem also keeps the price point more competitive. The Forte Pro is already at a slightly higher price point, especially now that the competition has increased like Mazda with their KS Pro wheel. And I can also understand that to get that premium feel of the Invicta, they wanted to add one of their machined aluminum stems, so it makes sense. Now I just want to touch upon value. I don't think the Invicta wheel adds any value personally that the Forte doesn't provide, although I would have had to remove a function off the Forte wheel when I added the ignition switch, because I did end up binding the rear buttons on the Invicta wheel. But are the two extra buttons on the back of the Invicta wheel worth double the price? I'm going to say probably not. Keep in mind I paid probably about half of what retail is on the Invicta wheel, and the only wear I could find was on the grips and on the back of the QD. I paid a little over $1,200 Canadian for mine, and the MSRP without the grips, clutch, or shifter paddles is about $1,800. And keep in mind, mine also came with the formula grips and the 6 carbon paddle shifters, plus a bunch of extra rotary knobs. One thing I did notice after I swapped out to the LMP grips is just how much heavier the regular formula style grips were. I didn't weigh them, but I definitely was able to notice the difference, especially when they were mounted on the wheels. When you compared the Forte formula wheel with the LMP grips compared to the Invicta wheel with the regular formula grips. And I'll also add to that the formula wheel came ready to race with the grips and the paddles installed and mounted, where the Forte formula wheel came in pieces requiring mounting of the paddles and the grips. And this is pretty easy to do, but I did have issues like I mentioned earlier with the LMP grips not fitting on the Invicta wheel because of tolerance issues. But when I first mounted the LMP grips to the Forte Formula Pro wheel, they just slid on like butter. And as far as the paddles, they're fairly simple to mount as well. The biggest issue being the magnets are just so strong on the shifters that they end up trying to attach the Allen key to the magnet. But anyone with a little bit of mechanical skills can figure this out, so it's definitely not worth the extra money if you're on a budget. So that basically wraps up everything I have to say about the Invicta versus Forte Pro. I don't want to come off as an Asetek shill in any way, shape, or form. I'm not affiliated. That said, I do enjoy their products. As far as what formula style wheel is right for you, if you are new to the hobby and you just really want a wheel with a screen, by all means, just get the Forte Pro wheel and be done with it. You're not going to miss the extra 2 buttons anyway, and it'll pair better with the Forte or the La Prima GT wheels, even the Initium wheel, because it's probably going to have the same length stem, although don't quote me on that. Now, on the other hand, if you're a veteran sim racer and you're trying to get into Asetek, you know exactly what you want on your wheel and how to set it up. If you find that you want the extra 2 buttons or you need the extra 2 buttons, then you might as well just buy once and cry once and get the Invicta. But before you buy new, I would definitely recommend checking the used market. I've seen Invicta wheels that looked brand new selling for like $800 US on Marketplace. But if you really just want to buy it new and have that peace of mind and the warranty, I think the wheel is still deserving of the top tier premium label, and there's still a lot of value in it in my opinion. Especially when you consider the longevity is definitely there. The major wear points are all replaceable. If the grips wear out, you can just swap in a new pair. If the shifters break, you can just replace them. And if the QD breaks, you can just replace that too. And if the rotary knobs break or get boring, you can just swap out a different color for some added excitement. I hope this gives anyone who's in the market for a new Asetek wheel some food for thought. I'm not trying to be a shill here. I just own the 2 wheels and I thought that it would be a service to the community if I was to give my opinions. And if there's any Canadians in the audience who are looking for some gear, I do have a discount code for 5% off from Sigma 6 Racing. I've bought some Asetek gear from them and they're pretty decent. But I just want to stress that I am not affiliated and I'm not being paid to shill for Sigma 6. I just want to spread the love. If you're on the fence about Le Mans Ultimate, be sure to check out some of my gameplay videos because I'm really enjoying the sim. If you like the content, please consider giving me a like and subscribe. If you want to see the rig build series that I did, then check out my channel page. I'm Bosco Too Fast, and I'll see you on the grid. Peace.